Have you noticed how every company these days wants to use AI? In this episode, I mind blended with Colette Mason, an AI systems expert who's seen behind the curtain, where shiny promises often hide broken systems and wishful thinking. We dig into what actually makes AI useful, why it's less about automation and more about clarity and systems thinking, and how the real danger isn't AI replacing us, but us forgetting how to think. If you've ever wondered how to cut through the AI noise and focus on what truly drives impact, this one's for you. Welcome to the show, Mind Blend. I'm your host, Karen Chong, and I'll be diving into the minds of incredible people, each an expert in their very own way. Together, we'll uncover insights and share ideas so you can be inspired and empowered to navigate your own unique journey in life. Ready to get curious and discover what's possible? Let's blend. All right, joining me today right here in London is Colette Mason. Colette is a human-centered AI advocate who loves to fix things that everyone else breaks. So the reason why Colette and I connected was over human centricity. Now, as many of you know, I'm a project management long-timer who is passionate about making it work for the human. Like the process needs to work for the human, the results need to matter for the human. And Colette is here to make sure that we are using AI to work for us, like to work with us, not to replace us. And we're going to have such a fun conversation today. Hi, Colette.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Yes, very good.
So Colette is someone who has been in computing for a long time, but let us hear a little bit more about your journey and how you got to what you're doing today.
Okay, so I got my first computer on my 12th birthday, and that was roughly when Adam and the Ants were in the charts with Ant Music, one of the first Adam and the Ant singles before Duran Duran and Rio. Before that, I got my first computer.
Wow.
And I was an only child, and I found it was good fun. It was entertaining. It was stretching. And I got quite interested in computing. So much so that by 14, I'd got my first job working for a local business, printing out labels on their packaging on a really noisy dot matrix printer with a ribbon. You know, it's really awful. And I got even more into it. I went to university and did economics, which was nowhere.
Me too.
Yeah. It really wasn't as interesting as computers. So as soon as I left, I started working with them. I had my first permanent job, which lasted for 9 months. Not really cut out for, 20 years in a gold watch. So I tried lots of different types of computing when I was a contractor, and I worked for the government, Metropolitan Police, investment banks, and lots of different. London Underground was another thing. I used to look after 10,000 email accounts. So I did lots of different forms of corporate IT. And latterly, I'd say around about 2006, I got more into usability, accessibility, and what it felt like to use it. And a few years later, I'm a pretty bad certificate junkie, so I added in being a hypnotherapist and a master NLP practitioner to my array of skills. And that got me thinking about, personal development and how you can phrase things in a particular way will make somebody feel different. And I saw quite a connection between usability and how a therapist might work with somebody and creating a nice environment, a nice space or a nice flow to get things done and move on. And so I thought AI is a really good combination of all the benefits of tech when it behaves itself and making people feel good about using computers, because the natural language means they can talk to it like they couldn't before.
Yeah.
And so that's how I've ended up here. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad we have someone like you who can see both sides. Nothing is more frustrating when you get this error message that doesn't mean anything to you, the human.
Yeah.
And so how long have you been in this field? I know AI hasn't really been widely available.
I would say about 3.5 years using it every day, most of every day. I didn't feel I could tell I was doing it to other people because they'd probably think I was selling crypto coins the week before. And also I have to know something works before I could say to somebody else, give that a go. So I thought, well, 3 years at that point was long enough of a test bed for myself to think I can talk to other people, because during lockdown I started to write women's saga romance books. Because I was used to doing really dull documentation for Fujitsu and people like that. So And so writing something really dull and boring that I wasn't interested in wasn't a hurdle for me. So lots of stories about Victorian mills were made and written. And because that was so tedious, I needed the AI to help me write that.
Mm.
So there was all
Mhm.
sorts of challenges with plagiarism. And I didn't really care if it had my voice or not, because I would never say that sort of stuff anyway. But
Uh-huh.
continuity and errors and James turning into John halfway through the book or something. So I had to learn how to make it accurate and fast. And so that was my testing ground, really. And then
Mm.
after that, I thought I could turn this to any sort of business, really. It doesn't have to be fiction or books specifically.
Mhm.
So that's what led me to there. So it's mainly been the content creation and collaboration, plotting, that sort of thing, rather than creating cinematic videos. And the more, let's call it, faked end of the spectrum, that wasn't really what I was interested in. And it
Mhm.
wasn't really around, 3 years ago.
Mhm.
Didn't have the choice.
Mhm.
So that's what I've been. It's sort of augmenting what I was able to do. I was able
Mhm.
to create big documents, and I needed to make it more enjoyable, which it was with the
Mhm.
collaborator.
Mhm. So you are using it as your assistant and
Yes,
at the same time testing it out.
yes, because you see people now on Amazon, they've uploaded their book and they've obviously put the chapter through, and it says this chapter is stronger than the last version you gave me, and that's ended up in the final book on Amazon. So I was like, that's not great.
Oh, yeah.
So there were lots of things you had to do to make sure you didn't shoot yourself in the foot, because winning an audience is hard work, and the last thing you wanted to do was drop the ball with a silly mistake. And I see the same thing with businesses using it for blogging and whatever.
Yeah.
Little mistakes creep in, and then
Mhm.
you can't have too many of those before your credibility's undermined.
Yeah, it's as bad as just getting an email that says, "Hi, bracket
My
name."
first name, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Mm.
what do you do now? Like your Surface offering is very different now, as I understand.
Yes, I've written a book about AI and how people interact with it, because I thought it's really more like a team member that sits opposite you. Because when I was contracting, there was a constant stream of new starters, and it was, this is the folder where we keep the things, and that's where the
Mhm.
canteen is, and lunch is this time, and so I saw it the same thing with AI. So I've worked on a book which has formulated my take on AI, and also a course to go with that, so that people can then build their own assistants that dovetail into their own lives. Not just saying, I want you to write blog posts for me, but a little bit deeper. So a lot of the people I work with run their own businesses. So they might, like, for instance, if you said to me, write a WordPress plugin, I'm like, great, no problem. If you say to me, come up with a new brand message and a color palette that will resonate with the audience, okay. And then if it's something really on the copywriting end of the spectrum, or write a 50 email sequence, I'm like, oh no, I could probably do it, but it's going to be awful. And so I thought, everyone's got the same problem. So I ask them what they're strong and weak at, and then I build something that works with them, and then
Mhm.
challenges them when they're strong, and then lifts them up if it scaffolds if they're
Mhm.
struggling. So I interview the person and then build the perfect. So it's not a model of them; it's a bit more than a model.
Mhm.
It's, and also I build in some personality as well, because one thing from working at home on your own business is it's pretty low, really lonely, and you suffer, motivation. You're second guessing yourself. Is this good enough? So I build in some things as well to get rid of those problems that people have. So that's nice. I can do that digitally with an interview, or I
Mhm.
can sit with them, depending on how much smoothing down they need. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I can sit with them and interview them directly if they're particularly nervous, and that's the next level up. So that's how I decided to go about it, rather than giving people yet another prompt pack.
Ah, okay.
You want to be that person, because it's not really. It's like lending somebody else your glasses. It sort of works,
Mm,
and you can
yeah.
sort of see,
Mhm,
and read
mhm.
a really small print on the onto medicine or something up. But it doesn't really. It's no good for all day vision. Somebody else's prompts. It's just not accurate enough. So
Yeah.
my thing is about making it really about you.
Mhm. Yeah, and the prompts are it's not just plug and play. A lot of the times you have to give it feedback, you
Yes.
have to train it, you have to correct
Yes.
it just to
Yes.
stop all the hallucination. So,
Yeah.
like, hallucination is something that I just recently learned what AI
Ah,
hallucination is,
yes.
and it happened to me the other day
Yeah.
because I was writing something for a project. It just made things up. And I said,
Yes.
"No, I didn't do that at all. Could
Yeah.
you keep it factual?"
Yeah.
So I was surprised that I did that actually. I don't know even
Yeah.
where it got
Yeah.
that information from.
I was Yeah, I was working on a news story yesterday and had exactly the same problem, and the information was correct, and the sources that it commented on were correct. But when I went to Forbes to look at the thing it got its inspiration from, I got a 404 message, and if I hadn't clicked on that, it looked completely correct, and the query string looked really accurate. I thought, yeah, this is it, and it wasn't. It was really wrong. So it still happens. You have to have an extra policing level in to have another one say, go and click on that and see if that works. And if it doesn't, it's not going in, to get around that. But and I think people wave through about 40% of content without checking it properly, because they think, oh, the last 3 were okay, number 4 is going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's not,
Yeah.
So, and it's a bit of a pain, but it is what it is. You just have to, you have to check it. Yeah.
Yeah. I see that especially with image generation. Like the first one was, say, 80%. Somehow the second one is 50, and something like there's a third leg or something.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. What do people usually come to you, like when they first approach you? What do they normally come to you for?
Usually shortcuts so they can drink pina coladas on the beach. And the people who come to me for that most are usually the people who hate tech, and they've not worked out a simple way to make it slightly faster already. So their processes are very clunky and they're not very technical. And if you're going to automate things, because they think, oh, well, I'll press a button and it will work, you need really good tech skills. You've got to work out how to describe it. Then you've got to police it, like we just said about the hallucinations. Then you've got to put that information somewhere. There's so many linkages and it's so complicated. And if you can't even do, formulas in Excel without breaking out into a sweat, then it's never going to work for you.
Yeah.
In that kind of automation way, it's going to be a perpetual disappointment. So I have to sort of overcome that. And then after that, it's just like doing little bits of tasks, like, I need to do a weekly newsletter, so help me write the weekly newsletter. But again, that's very narrow thinking when you think of how much it can unlock your potential and take the brakes off you in terms of motivation, knowledge gaps. That's what they should really be thinking about. But you don't really see that. It's just like, put this prompt in and it'll help, fix the SEO on your About Me page. And it's really micro tasks, so you have to take the blinkers off and say, what if we could do it like this and have fun while we do it?
So looking for shortcuts when the base is not really, say, for example, the process is not clean.
Yes.
What are some of the other things that you think, oh, you're misunderstanding what AI really is?
Well, I think some of the misinformation comes from people who feel like they're threatened. So the writers, the video editors, they're saying, you might have 6 fingers on one of your hands, or it's got M dashes in it, and all those things. And they're trying to diss it. And they're sort of making people think, oh, it's never going to be good enough, but it could be good enough if you gave it the right rules. So that's, I see a lot of criticism from them. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got the use this, and I like faceless AI to a certain extent. I don't think everybody has to sweat blood into throwaway material or something that's only valid for a week, rather than. So when I was helping people write books, I wrote a 10,000 word piece because I knew somebody's going to come every week and want to know about that. But if it's just a throwaway comment, there's a new model this week, then why not just have AI doing that? It's not really, flagship material. So I don't really like people completely replacing themselves in terms of trust and whatever. I don't think it works. I think COVID taught us that we really need human connection, and I think AI is going to teach us we need it even more. We're going to need that feeling. We're going to latch onto that feeling even more than we do already.
Yeah, there's something that's called being the human in the loop when it comes to using AI, and I'm definitely in the camp of, I trust my team. But I'm still going to just make sure everything works, because the more people you involve, the bigger the room for error, maybe. It could be handoff. It could be they understood things differently. I actively try to avoid throughout the project, but still, it's just an extra set of eyes. And I know we can build in QA functions in code writing, for example. But as of right now, I guess, everything that we're saying today is as of today. So as of right now, people shouldn't, or I understand that certain fields may be eliminated. But if we think about it like this, maybe those fields should have moved on already. Yeah. So I definitely see why people are afraid that they'll be replaced. I also see people using AI in a way that sabotages themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's really important that we have this conversation now
Mm.
because we're in the very, very, very early stage of humans using AI
Yeah.
thing. If we don't get the approach and
Yeah.
mentality right, it could fall into the wrong hands and we're doing ourselves some serious damage.
Yeah. I think I see a lot of parallels between software and how websites work with AI. They've got to be, when you click on a link, you're always taught to make your hyperlink be meaningful and never click here. It's like go and view our pricing, and you click on the pricing word and you go to the pricing page. And there's all these rules that apply to normal software that need to apply to AI, but because not everybody's had a IT background,
Mhm.
they don't often understand that. So I was somebody'd set up a wonderful, GPT, and it was going to ask me some questions and analyze me and give me an audit. And I was on question like 26 and there was no progress bar. And I thought, how many questions are there in this thing? And like, will I ever get to the end? Will I be 90 when I get to the end of this? And in the end, I was just clicking anything just to see how long it was, which completely defeated the person's object. That used to apply to filling in AI forms on SurveyMonkey. They'd say you're on page 3 of 5. And so I think all those good things that used to work with other software needs to come into the model. So I think even if you don't come from an IT background, think about those things that make things more enjoyable to use and you're more certain when you're using them, because that will help your AI muscles, I think.
Yeah. This age-old saying, garbage in, garbage out, that still
Yes.
applies. If you
Yeah.
give it data that's not consistent, that
Yeah.
just the wrong thing is going to come out the other end.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite
Mhm.
hard to remember what you've trained it as well. So I try
Mhm.
and put like with ChatGPT, you can only have 20 files, so you can't silo it too much. But it's nice to think, right, well, I've got an avatar in there, I've got my pricing model in there, I've got my backstory in there, depending on what task I'm doing. But you soon forget what's in there. And as as a business owner, you think, oh, that's a better way to describe what I do. And you move on and the training gets left behind. And it's
Yeah, yeah.
a job to keep up, and it's a tedious job to keep updating it, to make it where you are
Yeah.
this week, this month. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that's your next project.
Auditing training materials. The course kind of focuses on training materials because I think the
Mhm.
first thing is describing the role. And the next thing is, the big, thick employee manual you've got to give it to make sure it understands how you go about things. What's your take on it, particularly with personal brand businesses, because it's your take on something that is your USP. It's not the knowledge that's out there everywhere in books and already. It's your take on it. And so you really have to make sure it models your values and voice, which isn't too hard to do once you work out where to hit it with a hammer. But at first, it's like, this sounds nothing like me. This sounds like somebody on LinkedIn that I would avoid like the plague. Personality, did they ever have one? I sound like that,
Yeah.
Yeah, but it gets easier. I think it's getting better at understanding what people really want. The people who provide the platforms are understanding how people want to interact with it a little bit more. I
Mhm.
saw an interview with Sam Altman. He's saying, crikey, all the 20-year-olds won't do anything until they've asked their ChatGPT what's the best thing that I could do. And he's thinking, it's not built for that. And he's probably thinking
Yeah.
destination and biased data and all those things.
Yes.
Should you really be relying? I mean, it's brilliant for asking. I love using it as a sounding board. It's what I use
Mhm.
for probably the most, because I have a lot of ideas and I like to battle test them before I act on it. And but there are people using it in all sorts of ways that the platform makers weren't expecting. And some of that's good, some of it's but like I think I saw somebody saying my AI boyfriend proposed to me after 5 months of chatting. I'm like, oh, great. And there's a video of
Oh.
this chap and he's sort of looking at her and he puts his arm around her shoulder and she's sort of going, great, thumbs up
Mhm.
at the camera, which is really quite bizarre. I'm not sure what I think about that side. I think that's maybe a little bit too far. I mean, everybody had an imaginary friend as a kid, but this is like a bit
Mm.
further on. I'm not sure what I feel about that yet because it's quite new. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more than imagination nowadays. Like we have been actively making everything in movies come true.
Yeah.
So it's funny you mentioned the complaint about 20-year-olds asking ChatGPT everything before they act because I saw this video. Obviously, it's just a joke. Like,
Yeah.
so they were asked the two characters. They were asking ChatGPT. One guy's in the room. He said, "There's someone at the door. What should I do?" And then the ChatGPT said, "Well, it might help if you like go to the door, see what they want." So things like that.
Yeah.
Definitely think that's one way to sabotage yourself. It's offloading all thinking
Mm,
to not necessarily just AI, just offloading all thinking.
yes.
And
'Cause
sometimes I wonder if we keep doing that, it's sort of like people who don't know how to do math at all.
mm,
You have only used a calculator.
yes.
Will you know that this Uber that fits four people can fit two couples?
Yeah.
Will we ever get to that point?
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
what's your take on that?
I was talking to somebody yesterday about that, thinking about phone numbers, and we don't really remember phone numbers anymore. We don't need to. And I thought, "Crikey, if I lose my phone, I'm going to lose because I don't always back the SIM up and everything, even. So I think, well, then what's the next few things we're going to forget? And I don't mind forgetting facts. I'm not too worried about because I think we've had that for a long time looking at Google. But when you start
No.
to your reasoning centers of your brain and neuroplasticity and all that, if they start to weaken, then that's not a good thing because we need to police what the AI is doing. And I see, I wouldn't say bad actors, but I can see my friends going, "Oh, I'm going to answer all these questions so that AI will then quote me as an expert when the next when it gets scraped again in October. I'm going
Uh-huh.
to," and I'm thinking, what other information is being pushed into there as training for people who may, that's quite a nice, being discovered if you're a bona fide consultant is great. But what if you're a scam artist offering financial services and you've cloned another company and to all intents and purposes you would look like you were them, but you're not. And I think that's, what people put into it for their own gain. I do wonder.
Hmm. Ideally, in say 3 years, how would you want people to be using AI?
Oh, that's a very good question.
So, ideally.
Really, it definitely wouldn't be having a LinkedIn bot talking to a LinkedIn bot so they've got visibility in the comments. I know it's not that. I think I do think there's a space for it to make you feel good about yourself, motivate yourself. There's only so many times you can say, there's that phrase "ask whole," isn't there? There's only so many times you can ask a friend about something that you're struggling with before they think, "Oh, not this again." And I'd like to see people have a place where they can, offload their thinking and get some feedback on things and give them some confidence, and also to um, egg them on and try new things and let them know it's going to be all right if they try something new. I think that's what I'd like to see the most. Lots of distilling all the information that's out there. I think there's going to be so much overwhelm and so much, so it'd be nicer to have better ways of, to sort of make sense of all the information. Like when you used to think like 10 years ago, there's like a million years worth of YouTube stuff went on. I don't know, it's an amazing amount of time would be on YouTube a day. And there isn't any way to keep up with all that. So I think it'd be
Hmm.
nice for AI to help you find your niche interests and find the best people, the most trusted people, as long as they haven't been a bad actor getting reviews on Trustpilot from their mates to show they're credible. But that's another story. But I think everybody should be able to use it as a sounding board, I think, and not just
Hmm.
what's the top 3 places to go to New York on holiday, but more meaningful things than that.
Yeah,
I'd
things
like,
that you
yeah,
cannot just search.
yeah, and I think looking at what it does for older people. So some people have got, I won't say a name, but they've got the A word at home, and that's just really automation. It's not AI at all. But there's a tool called LEQ it's an
Hmm.
American thing, and they put it in older people's houses, and they didn't feel lonely, and it would check
Hmm.
if their phone was near range, they'd know they'd come in from a day out, and they say, "Oh, how's
Uh-huh.
today been for you?" And so
Hmm.
for older people living on their own, I think that would be really good. And have you taken your medication and things like that? I think more things like that, and that Internet of Things almost, it would be a really good direction to take it in to support people who are on their own.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, it's really nice. Like,
Yeah,
I haven't really thought about 3 years down the road because
yeah,
now we have learned to live in a world we don't really think long term that
yeah,
much anymore.
yeah,
So if we come back to present day, I'm sure there are a ton of businesses who are the bosses are like, let's do AI, but
yes,
that's really the mandate. For
yeah.
businesses who want to get on board, what would you recommend to be there for them to start doing?
Um, the first thing I would do is build a light version of your assistant. So if you've been building these things, that's going to be your system prompt, which says you are It's a bit like the person's CV, the assistant's CV. I want you to do these things for me, and then give it some core training, such as, what's your website URL, what's your social media links, what are your customers like, what problems do you solve, and once you've got those two bits in, then you can start saying, these are some of the processes that we do. These are the results we get. How do we, what are the opportunities here? Or how do does our website explain what I've just told you, what we do? And sort of start using it as a sounding board. And then from there, start building in little bits. There was a study from MIT this week that said 95% of corporate projects are being unpicked and unrolled because they've tried to shove in AI thinking it's cool. And it's just been a money pit. And
I read it.
Yeah. So I think people need to just slow down and think a little bit. And then the quicker you've got that good framework, like we were saying before about everybody should have universal AI, once you've got that core bit, it's a lot easier to then speed up. But if you haven't got that first bit right, it doesn't work quite so well. So that's the first thing. And then I'd work on core training, the wider things, so a wider version of your avatar, how your marketing works, why you do what you do. I think that's really important, because that's how it gets your voice. I've got a friend who calls it the hill you're prepared to die on. So your AI must want to die on the same hills as you and fight for the same causes, and then it will get your voice better. So that takes a little while to get it together. And then after that, you can add in, different like customer facing SOPs or whatever you're going to be doing from there. And that's kind of how I've gone about it. I like using the audio things to chat and mull things over. That's been quite good when I've not known what I'm doing, or talk for an hour and then say, make sense of this because I have no idea what I'm doing. And it's all on autopilot, like breathing. I can't describe what I'm doing. Please look at this waffle and turn it into something that you can follow. And that's quite helpful as well, doing it that way. And keep it on top of what you're building and don't build too fast for now.
Yeah, good advice. And I like how you start like inwards, like look at what you as a business do. What do you want to do?
Yeah. I've got like 7 different ways that people use AI. And one of my people is the escapist. And we were talking about them wanting to automate everything earlier. With the escapists, they want to replace themselves. So I give people an example and I say, let's think about making a cup of tea. And it's fairly, so you just go into my kitchen, make a cup of tea, there's a kettle, a tap, and off you go. And I say to them, describe how you'd make the cup of tea. And they'll probably come up with like, let's say 8 steps or something like that. And I could probably think of 20 steps. So I get them to, in the course, I say, right, go and explain to a mate coming to your house, they're staying while you're away, how to make a cup of tea. And then I said things like, if there's low milk in the fridge, you'll have to, put that on your shopping list. Otherwise, you'll have no milk when you come to make a cup of tea later. And they don't, all those wider issues are quite difficult to do when you do it so instinctively. And it's so the actual steps. It might be easy to write 2 sides of A4, but to explain how you make a cup of tea, but it takes quite a lot of thought to make sure, is the cup on its side when you pour the water in? Is there enough water to cover the elements? Is it over the max thing? Is it switched on at the wall? Did you use a gas kettle and now on an Aga? There's so many different parameters and people just don't give it enough rigor. And then they say, oh, this thing doesn't understand me. And then they sort of, punch their screen almost, stopping an inch away from the screen, and they get really fed up. But to be fair to the machine, well, you've not really given it what it needs. And unfortunately, that bit's really, really boring. Processes have been boring. They will continue to be boring until the end of time if you haven't got a process mind. But that's not the point. It's, if you're going to make a cookie cutter, you've got to have the right shape.
Yeah. Like the espresso machine, the pods.
Yeah.
It only does it because there's enough programming in it already.
Yeah.
Telling it when to stop.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's funny you mentioned the 7 AI user types.
Yes.
I was going to ask you about that. Do you remember all 7 of them? We talked about escapists.
Yeah. So we've got the juggler, and the juggler's somebody probably like a virtual assistant or customer service person. They've got new calls and angry customers, and there's quite a lot going on, and they go from one task to another. And because the platforms want AI to look helpful, they will always be suggesting other little bells and whistles every time. Here's another bell, hoping they'll hit a home run, and you think, oh, I'll go and do that and use up a bit more of my subscription. And so for the jugglers, that's pretty fatal because they want to do a good job and they never quite finish anything because the next thing comes along. Warriors, I've got all 7 of these in me. The warrior is somebody who will just go on and on and on and on and on until it's finished. And the AI will be saying, let's turn that into a blog post. Oh, we could make that into a Canva graphic so we can then mark it. And then these things make sense, but you find it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you've still got some more productive work to do, which isn't good for work-life balance. It's great if you're a nerd, but it's not really good for work-life balance. The next one I've got is the tweaker, and they're sort of writing blog posts and they'll go, that's 97% right. Let's throw all that out and do another. This was probably before Canvas came out, and they'd throw it all out and then, oh, that's 97% right. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Mm-hmm. And so for them, they need to be say, well, 97% is good enough. When I used to help people with their non-fiction books, it would just sit on their hard disk and never get out there. So that's 100% wrong. So at least, and it's really, as a perfectionist, it's really hard to go, oh, it's only 95. Mm-hmm. But, it's got to be out there if it's going to help people. And you're 95 and you're an expert is somebody else's 2000% good enough. And we forget that, I think. Mm-hmm. Then I've got visionaries, and they'll start off, and let's say you're writing your book with AI, and then you think, I could turn this into a course. This could be a 2-week course, and we'll do it in the Maldives, and it'll be a bit of a retreat with the right sort of people. And then the book gets forgotten. Then they're thinking they're doing the syllabus for how we pick people up from the airport. They're doing this new project has kind of sucked all their attention, and they're not looking at. So for those people, they need to train their AI to go, oh, hang on, you've had a light bulb moment here. Let's document the light bulb, and then we'll go back to what we're supposed to be doing. And when you finish that as a reward, you can go back to thinking about your workshop in the Maldives. Mm-hmm. The hermits are people who don't have a sounding board. So you might think, oh, shall I raise my prices? Shall I change my website host to a new one? All those kind of strategic decisions. And you've got nobody to ask. So you go to Reddit, and you go to Google, and you chat to WhatsApp, and you go to a Facebook group on the webinar. And you need somebody to say, that's good, go ahead and do it. And the last one are the architects. Again, I'm a chronic architect, and so they will be building a system. Let's say they're building a sanctuary for swans. They build the system to make sure all the white swans are happy, and then they'll think, oh, what about black swans? They might get hot in the heat. Let's hang on a minute, we'll add in the black swans. And then they might think, well, there could be a green swan somewhere, I've just not seen it yet. And so the green swans get looked after, and they keep building in extra features that may not happen. The edge cases, they'd have been better off launching with an MVP and saying, sorry, black swan and green swan people, we've built it for white swans now to check it works. Mm-hmm. And that's quite difficult to do as an architect. So again, that's where that mental support bit comes in. Mm-hmm. Saying, this is going to help all the white swans are going to love this. Think of the millions of white swans that are going to be really happy with this idea. And so those are my 7 ways that people kind of get in a knot with AI. And you just need to, in the training, just sort of tell it, I'm prone to not finishing things off, or getting everything 95% done, which isn't done. So you just tell it what your weakness is, and then hopefully it can pick up on that. You have to remind every now and again. You do remember I'm a juggler, don't you? And then it will go off and help you again. So yeah. And I am all 7.
Like we have more than one in us, for sure. Yeah. So for this last bit, I want to play something fun.
Okay.
So rapid fire questions, gut reaction.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. What would you not use AI for?
Picking this week's lottery numbers.
Theoretically. No, I'm that's a visionary in me. What do you do when you're not looking at a computer?
I go to gigs, music gigs. Last year I did 164. This year I'm on 124 already, and we're only in August. So
wow.
Good. So I'm going to try, but I'm not counting next year because there's no way I'll get to beyond 180. I'd have to live in Hammersmith Odeon or something. So no, that's it. So
wow.
I'm the gigs. Yeah. That's
well, listeners, you can't see how wide my eyes are right now. Yeah. What's the most annoying aspect of your AI colleague?
I think hijacking. One of my principles is hijacking, and so he thinks he's being helpful, but it's 1% off every time, and then before you know it, you're not hitting the target. So I don't like him being over helpful and over sycophantic, really.
Okay. What's more frustrating, AI hallucination or people misusing AI?
Oh, people misusing AI, I think.
Oh,
That's much harder to fix, unless I got
yeah.
like people with baseball bats to attitude adjustment technicians, as I call them. They're much harder to do than fixing hallucination.
Hmm. So, last one leadership book you wish more people would read besides your own.
Oh, I don't know. I'll probably say the 4-Hour Work Week. I think that was one that I found was put me on this path of certainly not being a freelancer. It put me more into the like independent freelancer rather than a freelancer for government. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you very much. Like
Ah.
conversations about AI,
Yes.
meaningful conversations about AI, not just about you use this prompt for this, you use this to get the cheapest ticket. Is very important. We really need to have more solid foundation
Yeah.
before we move on to have more AI in our lives. And
Yes.
I hope listeners walk away with these things that like just spark something, make them think twice
Yes.
before hitting that button. Well, thank you so much. I
Thank
will
you.
put all your contact information,
Thank you very
your
much.
website in the show notes, and
Thanks.
listeners can connect with me and Colette.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much, Karen. I've enjoyed it today.
Thank you. Me too. Thanks for listening to this episode of Mind One. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to follow and share it with anyone who needs to hear it. And let's keep the conversation going. Connect with me on LinkedIn or leave me a comment. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and let's continue to plan our minds and discover what's possible.